Welcome back to the deep dive. So if you run a small or mid-sized business, you probably know this scene all too well. Someone new joins the team, and you grab a sticky note, scribble down those 5 or 6 random characters, the office Wi-Fi password, and you hand it over. It feels simple, right? Secure enough, maybe, and it's definitely fast. But here's the massive security paradox we really want to unpack today. That exact simplicity, that one single shared key for everyone, it's actually the fastest way to completely lose control. It creates unacceptable risk and, well, ensures basically zero accountability on your network.
Oh, absolutely. It creates this enormous blind spot. And the longer that single password exists, the higher your liability climbs. So our mission today really is to demystify the kind of enterprise-grade fix, the system used by basically every major corporation, and show you how it's actually become practical for you for smaller businesses. We're talking about implementing per-user Wi-Fi credentials. Technically, it's known as WPA2 Enterprise.
Yeah, I was genuinely shocked, actually, when I looked into this to see how accessible this whole solution has become now. It brings identity, accountability, and I think this is key, clean offboarding. And the best part, you don't need like a whole team of network engineers to pull it off anymore.
Exactly. We'll guide you through that transition. We're going to cover 3 main steps. First, we really need to hammer home the concrete threats that single key is creating, like right now. Second, we'll decode exactly how this per-user system works. We'll use some simple analogies, try to bust that old complexity myth. And finally, we'll dive straight into the measurable payoff. Why this upgrade will save you, honestly, significant time and money almost straight away.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack this then. Let's start with the cold, hard liability that single shared password really represents.
Right. So when you look at why security teams just, hate shared keys, it really all boils down to control, or a lack of it. The biggest problem, and honestly the one that costs the most to fix down the line, is that your access control becomes instantly permanent the moment you share that key.
I think the ex-employee scenario just drives that home perfectly, doesn't it? Someone leaves the company, maybe it wasn't on the best terms, or maybe they just moved on amicably. But if you don't change that shared password the instant they walk out the door,
Yeah.
and let's be realistic, who actually remembers to do that every single time someone resigns?
Exactly. Nobody does consistently. So they can just sit in the parking lot or, at the coffee shop next door, and their device, which obviously remembers the key, it just reconnects like nothing ever happened. Their access stays permanent until you perform this massive global reset of that password across every single router, every access point, and every single device connected to the network.
Ugh. And the administrative pain of that total reset. That's precisely why most business owners and, frankly, IT staff just don't do it. I've been there myself, trying to wrangle like 30 different devices like some kind of digital shepherd just because of one person left. It's a guaranteed loss of like half a day, easy.
And that procrastination, that delay, it feeds directly into the second core problem, zero accountability, just none. So when a security incident happens, maybe malware, maybe unauthorized access, and you look at the network logs, what do you actually see? You see that a device connected using the key, I don't know, Summer Fun 2024 or whatever it is. You have absolutely no idea who authorized that connection or even whose device it actually was.
Right, and that total lack of identity, it completely breaks any kind of forensic investigation. It ruins internal audits, and it makes filling out those mandatory cyber insurance questionnaires impossible to do accurately. You simply cannot attest honestly who had access to your network and when.
And we often see that same single password just handed out to visitors too, right? Guests frequently end up on the main staff network just because, it's easier than setting up a proper dedicated guest solution. But that means your visitors instantly become network insiders. Their potentially unsecured personal phones, their tablets, they can suddenly see your actual business assets. Things like network printers, shared servers, maybe even your staff laptops.
Which leads pretty quickly, I imagine, to the spread of what we call shadow devices. Once that shared password is out there, maybe someone uses it to connect a new TV in the conference room or a smart camera, or maybe an employee just connects their new personal phone. That device just stays connected forever, usually. You lose track almost instantly of what's actually consuming your bandwidth and potentially accessing resources it shouldn't be.
So if we sort of summarize the liability aspect, a single password gives you maybe 5 minutes of simplicity up front. But it guarantees this massive, ongoing administrative headache and a major security blind spot for the entire life of that network. And you have to remember, modern automated attacks, they're designed specifically to exploit these low-friction points. They go for what's easy, not necessarily what's famous.
Okay. So we've definitely established the shared password is a big liability. But the solution you mentioned, per user Wi-Fi, it kind of sounds like trading one easy problem for like 50 harder management problems. Isn't WPA2 Enterprise sort of notorious for needing complex radius servers and, IT certification nightmares? Why should a small business owner even, consider going down that road?
That's the perfect question, really, because until pretty recently, that complexity was the biggest blocker.
Absolutely. Historically, yeah, you had to roll your own authentication servers. You had to manage digital certificates, update profiles manually. It was a lot. But the fundamental concept itself is actually quite simple. We just replace that single shared key with a unique credential. So like a username and password, or maybe a secure certificate that's tied directly to an individual person's identity.
Ah, okay. So instead of everyone sharing the key, say, Big Office 123, Maya signs in with maya@office.com and her own unique password. Exactly that. And this relies on the WPA2 Enterprise Standard, which uses protocols like EAP, that's Extensible Authentication Protocol. It basically checks the identity before the device is even allowed onto the network properly. And this immediate identity check, that's the real game changer because it allows for proper role separation. So staff sign in with their unique work credentials, they get staff access, guests, they're automatically shunted onto a dedicated internet-only guest Wi-Fi, totally isolated. And specialized equipment like, that boardroom TV or a security sensor gets placed on a separate, isolated IoT network.
Okay, let's try and make this highly technical process a bit more concrete, maybe an analogy. Think of your network like a high-security restricted club.
Perfect analogy, yeah. So when a device tries to connect, we basically go through 4 core steps that the network enforces. We often call these the 4 A's.
Right. The first A is identity. So this is like the security guard at the club door asking, who are you actually? When you walk up, the router is asking the device for its unique Wi-Fi ID, not just the shared secret knock everyone knows.
Exactly. Then the second A is authentication. This is where you securely prove you are who you say you are. You insert your personalized key card or swipe your unique member card, whatever it is. You're proving your identity via that WPA2 enterprise process securely. Okay, makes sense. Then third A is authorization. So now that the club knows who you are, it gives you the right level of access. Are you staff? Okay, here's the all-access wristband. Just a visitor, right? You get the bar-only wristband. This makes sure you only see the resources that actually align with your role.
And the really crucial step, the one that solves that huge liability problem we talked about, is the fourth A, accounting. Every single time your unique card is used to enter or exit the club, a ledger entry is made. And it's tied specifically to your name, not just a member or guest. Every connection is logged and tied back to an individual person. That gives you total visibility.
So, okay, going back to my initial challenge then, why isn't this hard anymore? If I still have to build and manage some complex radius server in the back room, it's probably still not worth it for, say, a 20-person office. And that's precisely where the massive breakthrough has happened in the industry. Basically, the industry has moved this entire complex mechanism, the authentication server, the certificate management, all of it into cloud-based identity solutions. These modern platforms completely automate the mechanics. So instead of installing a server in your closet, you just sign up for a service, connect your existing access points to it. And the setup becomes this guided, often wizard-driven process, that huge complexity barrier that basically locked SMBs into using weak shared passwords. It's effectively been removed now.
Okay. That clarity really does change the whole cost analysis, doesn't it?
No.
So let's focus on the tangible benefits now, because you said this system pays for itself almost immediately just in operational savings. Number 1 on the list has to be clean offboarding in seconds.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the cost, the sheer time suck of that administrative fire drill we mentioned earlier when someone leaves. With per-user identity, if an employee leaves, you just log into your identity provider, find their account, click disable on their Wi-Fi credential. Done! They are instantly off the network. No need to notify 50 other employees, no need to run around touching 50 different devices, and absolutely zero network downtime for everyone else.
And that delivers true accountability right away, too. If you get a network security alert ping you at 2 a.m., it doesn't just say, uh-oh, unknown device access server. It says something specific like Priya's MacBook, authenticated on the staff network, attempted to reach server X. That immediate identity lets you, or maybe your managed service provider, act with real precision.
The safer network layout is another huge win that just sort of happens automatically. You automatically ensure guests only get internet access. They simply can't see your sales team's laptops. And those IoT devices, the TVs, the cameras, they're properly segmented off. And this segmentation happens by default, based on identity and authorization rules you set up once, not by you having to manually configure complex VLANs all the time.
And for things like compliance and cyber insurance,
Hmm.
this feels almost non-negotiable these days. Identity plus logs equals proof, right?
Yeah.
When that mandatory form asks, do you have individual user authentication for network access, or maybe can you tell us who had access on April 10th? You can actually provide auditable, person-specific logs, not just guesses.
Yeah, let's run through a few really common scenarios that happen in basically every business and see how the new system handles them compared to the old way. Okay, how do you handle a contractor who needs temporary access? Well, you certainly don't give them the company secret, that shared password. You create a temporary, unique ID for them, maybe tied to their specific contract dates. Or, if they just need internet, you simply put them on the guest Wi-Fi. And the moment the job ends or the date expires, their access just vanishes automatically.
Okay, good one. What about that boardroom TV? It needs connectivity for presentations, streaming maybe. How does that fit in?
Simple. It gets placed on that isolated IoT Wi-Fi segment, which means, yes, it can stream content from the internet, but it absolutely cannot communicate with, or worse, be exploited to attack, say, the CEO's laptop that might be on the staff network in the same room.
Makes sense. And that former employee scenario we keep coming back to. The one who maybe tries to reconnect from the parking lot, hoping their old shared password still works.
Their specific Wi-Fi ID has already been disabled the moment they left the company. So when their phone or laptop tries to connect using those old credentials, it just fails, silently, securely. The network access, finally, properly reflects the actual reality of your business roles and employee lifecycle.
Okay, this is really good. And here's where the technology starts to move beyond just, pure security and into more active network management, right? Because many of these modern automated solutions, they add a bonus layer on top.
Mm-hmm.
They combine that identity with device fingerprinting.
Exactly. That gives you the complete picture. Identity tells you the who, like we've discussed. Device fingerprinting then gives you the detailed what. Yes. This process basically looks at the unique characteristics of the device trying to connect its operating system, its hardware type, its capabilities, and it reports that information back too.
So you don't just see a device connected using Maya's login. You actually see Maya's iPhone staff network connected at 8:05 a.m. Or if you get an alert, it becomes super actionable, like new device connected, unknown Android smartphone attempting to access the staff network using guest credentials. It's something like that.
Precisely. This total visibility, the who and the what, it drastically reduces the guesswork. And honestly, the support noise. So let's just summarize the measurable results you can realistically expect and really hammer home why this moves from just being a security measure to actually being a smart business investment.
Okay. So first you realize a huge return on investment just by eliminating all that time spent on offboarding, right? That a whole painful process literally becomes seconds clicking a button instead of hours of IT hassle.
Absolutely. And you'll see far fewer help desk tickets coming in because that constant question of, hey, who owns this mysterious device that's eating up bandwidth? It just vanishes. You know who owns it. Audits become way cleaner, much less stressful. And those painful cyber insurance renewals, they go a lot smoother because you have verifiable identity and clear log proof right there.
And maybe most critically, thinking long-term about business viability. You dramatically cut down on insider risk that's driven by those recycled, shared, or maybe even accidentally leaked passwords. And you build higher client and staff trust because you are visibly, provably controlling who accesses your network by person and by their specific role. Hashtag tag tag outro. So I think the core message today is really clear. Stop using one shared Wi-Fi password for the whole office. It's just not worth the risk anymore. Implement per user logins. It takes that security and accountability solution that was once only really practical for massive corporations, and it makes it practical, affordable, and actually pretty simple for you to implement today.
Yeah, and if we just connect this back to the broader security mindset for a second, this shift from a shared secret key to individual identity, it really is the definition of foundational security hygiene. It's step one. Visibility and accountability, they inherently reduce your risk, they reduce guesswork, and they definitely reduce support costs. So this leaves you, the listener, with maybe one final provocative thought to consider. If your current network logs can't actually differentiate between your trusted staff, your temporary contractors, or maybe even a device belonging to a former employee who left last year, what foundational level of security are you actually missing right now? And maybe more importantly, what potential cost are you implicitly accepting during your next security audit? Or worse, after an incident.
That is a truly powerful thought to chew on. Implement smart security where your risk is actually highest. That's it for this deep dive.